Memphis-ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome into Hoist the Colors, 3 days out from East Carolina, hosting the Memphis Tigers in a big game inside Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. It'll be a 4 o'clock kickoff on Saturday between the 8-2 Tigers and the 6-3 Pirates. Of course, conference championship implications on the line, especially for ECU. Memphis still alive mathematically as well. It's senior day, and so a lot for ECU to play for. We'll visit with Kevin Monroe over the course of the next hour, former ECU DB. His youngest son, Derek Monroe, they call him Butter, he just got a scholarship offer from ECU as a freshman in high school. He was on a visit for the Charlotte game, so we'll talk to Kevin about that and much more around 12:15. We also are going to get deeper into yesterday's basketball discussion. What early concerns are we seeing with the Pirates? What things encourage us as well as ECU gets ready to host Elizabeth City State on Thursday. Really not going to learn anything there, but Pirates should get to 2-1 going into the UNCW game next week. Philip Pilkington, he's behind the glass inside the 94.3 The Game studios. Intern Isaiah hanging out as well. What's up, Philip?
Hey, man. How's it going? It's Wednesday already.
Wednesday already. Yeah, this week I think going by fairly quickly, which is a positive, and you know I'm excited about Saturday. I never want to say hit the fast forward button after watching the movie Click, but I'm just ready for the game Saturday, man. I don't know. I've got a pretty good feeling the Pirates are going to show up, play well once again, but I'm just ready for some big-time football. I really hope the crowd turns out, and I think we're going to get a solid crowd, and I hope the crowd is vocal. Like, it's always tough for us to tell in the press box. You sit in the radio booth a lot, so you have an open press box window. Where we are basically soundproof. I can't hear anything, so it's almost like a sterile environment, but I just feel like it's not as loud as it used to be. I want Saturday to be loud like it used to be, like how I remember it, coming to games as a kid with a lot on the line, people standing up, not just waiting for the third down music. Get loud on first down. Why do we have to wait till third down? First down matters just as much as third down.
Amen. I was texting a friend about that the other day, and we were talking about ECU fans. We were talking about, like, the Panthers fans are the same way. Like, you think in Buffalo, those people wait until it's third down to get loud? You think in, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, these NFL teams where you hear about the best fan bases. Of course, Philly may be the best or the worst, depending on how you look at it, but they're still up there as one of the most passionate fan bases. You think they're waiting until third down? Hell no.
Absolutely not. I want to see Pirate fans do their best Buffalo Bills fan impression on Saturday.
If you got
to jump through a table pregame to get the blood pumping, do it. Let's go. We have meaningful football in November in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. Let's act like it. All right, some housekeeping. We'll talk more about the Memphis game with Kevin Monroe. We got some comments from yesterday I want to circle back to. I said I would about conference realignment and specifically the App State series. Should it be an annual game going forward? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more here in a second. I do want to give a shout-out to the women's team, the women's basketball team. Kim McNeil's squad wins 91-62 over Charleston Southern last night. Taylor Barner, the Memphis transfer, who sat out last season with an injury originally from Raleigh, she goes for 32 points, 13 of 22 from the floor, 4 of 11 from three-point range, 3 steals. And, man, I love to see this. We're going to talk later about men's basketball struggling shooting the ball. How about the women's team, Philip? 11 of 25, 44% from three-point range. Like, I feel like that's got to be the highest volume, highest number we've seen from Kim McNeil's team in probably quite some time.
Yeah, I said it after the open against Wilmington. I really think this will be the best three-point shooting team we've seen in the Kim McNeil era, and they're still going to play really tough defense, going to create some live ball turnovers, going to get themselves some buckets in transition. But also I think they do not have the size they've had in the past with My Joyner and the Weiss twins. Therefore, they are going to have to shoot the rock a little bit better. And, as good as the defense is, they do not have Danae McNeil up there as they haven't for the last few years that can create, 40-some total points off of turnovers per game like it was. So this team's have to be able to shoot the ball, and so far I think through 3 games they've done a good job of it.
Women go back on the road. They lost at Liberty last Friday. They'll go back on the road on Sunday, take on High Point, so another road test, and they'll be back at home against ODU. So Pirates 2-1 there under Kim McNeil. All right, yesterday's conversation, we had a lot of talk about scheduling because of the Wake Forest cancellation, then backing out of the 2027 game. Some comments I didn't get a chance to really get to because we were short on time. We had a lot of calls for Kenneth. Kenneth wants to add James Madison to the American. We'll table that for a second. We had another comment wanting to play Southern Miss or Marshall in non-conference play. So obviously a lot of calls for App State. We'll talk about that here in a second. So here's my thing with the the Marshall and Southern Miss games. I feel like the distance maybe isn't what this administration wants in terms of how long it takes to get there. Now, ECU App is not an easy trip at all either. But you look at Greenville, North Carolina, just doing my quick Google Maps here. Greenville to Huntington, West Virginia. That's a 7-hour ride. Now, Greenville to Boone is no short trek either. I imagine you got to fly, but it is 4 hours, 20 minutes. So 3 hours less, 2.5 hours less. And obviously Greenville, North Carolina to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You're obviously having to fly a 12-hour, 13-hour trip. Now, I will say, for those who grew up watching ECU football in the heyday, ECU Southern Miss was as physical, as great of a rivalry as ECU has ever had in football. You have 2 schools. Southern Miss has fallen off over time, but I think they're starting to get back to where they were with Charles Huff going there. Johnny Gilbert, also the previous AD at Southern Miss. But you had 2 schools that were very similar. Obviously Independence at one time, and then the Conference USA together, overshadowed by in-state schools, Southern Miss by Mississippi State, Ole Miss, ECU by NC State, Carolina, Duke, Wake, etc. So you kind of have that chip on the shoulder mentality between both programs. It made for a really awesome rivalry back in the day. So that would be more nostalgia than anything. I just don't know if it makes a ton of sense. And obviously Marshall, ECU are tied together, and they've got a series, I would say a friendly rivalry in many ways. That series was basically canceled. The last few games were, and I don't know if that was an ECU or Marshall decision, but that was done not too long ago. So I don't know. I wouldn't hate maybe a one-off home and home for either of these series, especially Marshall, but I just don't know if it makes sense with the more regional footprint, Phillip, in terms of, you got easier trips to make to Coastal, ODU, et cetera, even to Georgia State.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the tough thing is, the flying thing. I think, and this is understood, and we're seeing it not only with football, but we're seeing it with baseball. Ever since the UCLA trip, they haven't flown for an out-of-conference baseball trip. You're seeing it with basketball too, where they really want to make it bus trips if they can. Now, buy games are different. Going to Michigan and going to Northwestern where you're getting paid $1 million+ yeah, they'll happily fly there. But that's the tough part about this thing. Now, taking that aside, I understand exactly why the people who are saying this. Yes, it is more fun to play Marshall. We have a history with Marshall. It is more fun to play Southern Miss. We have a history with Southern Miss. So I would like these on the schedule. It would be nice to, maybe once every 6 years you have a home and home with Marshall and a home and home with Southern Miss. So maybe you got to go 2-3 years in there where you don't play either one, but you're playing at least one of the two, half the time or 2/3 of the time, I think would be good. And then look, the app thing, this team needs a rivalry. We were talking about a pre-show. ODU just doesn't have the fan base. I have no problem playing ODU. It's quick. It's usually a good football game. It's an easy drive for us. But this team needs a rivalry, and we can either go down to Charlotte's level or we can find someone who's already committed to playing football. I would like to play app every year, especially with 4 out-of-conference games.
Yeah, we touched on that briefly yesterday, but just kind of circle back on a lot of comments favorable for that, and I'm with it as well. To me, you have 2 fan bases that have watched college football, grown up around college football for a long period of time. You have 2 programs with tradition, unlike, let's say, Coastal, ODU, some of the more regional programs that have just popped up in recent years, like App and ECU, I think there's a mutual respect there and probably a mutual dislike after some of their more recent games too. So I just feel like, even more so than an ECU and Charlotte, who are conference brethren now, ECU App already feels like more of a rivalry than ECU Charlotte, as crazy as that is to say, but I genuinely feel that way as someone who covers the program. I feel like it's more realistic. It blossoms into one over time. We had a comment saying ECU and App need a rivalry trophy. If you start playing annually, I'm for that as well. Not to steal Charlotte's gimmick, but I think the gold-blooded rivalry would be better for App and ECU than ECU Charlotte. But I am totally in favor of that. I said it yesterday. It's one of those things where a great rivalry, while you would think on the surface, like why would you want to play a team in your recruiting footprint in your region more often, because that's going to hurt you. I think a great rivalry elevates both programs. And so I'm all for it. I think it'd make a ton of sense. And I really hope it heads to that direction. If ECU and App are never in the same conference, I think it should be an undoubted, easy non-conference series both teams can get together for. We did have Kenneth say the Americans should just add James Madison and UConn in football only. Well, first off, UConn just voluntarily left the conference a couple years ago, so I don't see UConn being added in football only. James Madison, it's kind of similar to App in that it is another team in ECU's recruiting footprint. It's another team in your region, but they've got a really good program, man. They made the NCAA basketball tournament recently. They're solid in most sports. Lacrosse, softball, they're good. Football, obviously, they're in the mix for a CFP championship appearance. They won multiple FCS titles between Mike Houston and Kurt Signetti. So I think if it could work out, I'd be for JMU in the American. Now, obviously, there has to be probably some teams either added along with JMU or somebody's got to leave and you got to fill them back in, because right now you're at, 14 playing institutions on the football front. So, but I think when the next expansion comes, I lean more towards being in favor of JMU, given that the fact they're already investing pretty heavily. I think last I checked, their football budget's even bigger than ECU. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on JMU, Phillip, as another team in the region?
Well, let's just, I understand your football-only comment, but here's the deal. There's 13 basketball teams. Tim Pernetti has admitted he wants to get to 14. So if they come with football, they're coming in everything. They're not in the kind of situation where you make a football-only move. The teams who've historically done, the teams who historically do the football-only thing are teams who are service academies, because they're playing in the Patriot League and other sports, or there's been a few other weird instances, but a team like JMU, if they come, they're going to come. Now, as to how realistic this is, I don't know. I don't know if it's that realistic, but I do want to inform people there is at least something going on between their upper administration and the conference's administration, because they are an American women's lacrosse member. And I know for example, their conference does not have women's lacrosse. Those of you who don't know, don't pay attention to women's lacrosse. A lot of conferences don't have it. That's why in the past, Vanderbilt was in the conference at one point. Florida's been in the conference. So you kind of have to pick and pull when you're in a sport where not every school has it. So there is a relationship there. So this is not a far-fetched thing if the conference is looking to expand. It all comes down to, does Tim Pernetti want to get above 14 football members? But I think they would very much be at the forefront of that due to previous relationships, and also they know this is a team that commits to football. You would much rather add them than add half the bozos you added last time, FAU and Rice. Nobody wants them, and I'm not mad at the administration of the conference. It just is what it is. They were able to put up the money. It's fine. They're here, great. But JMU actually has fans, and they're willing to commit to football, unlike these schools who are winning 3 games.
Aaron says American and Sun Belt merger ? I just think there's so many different factors in play there with both leagues. I don't really know how you'd make it work. I mean, ideally, you take the best from the American and the best from the Sun Belt. You'd have a heck of a league, but there's a lot of contracts and all that in play. Yeah. You just can't do that.
So I do want to address this quick. If conference mergers start to happen, yes, the American and the Sun Belt are not going to be the first ones to merge. You're going to have to see like an SEC Big Ten merger happen first, and then the trickle-down effect with the ACC Big 12, and then the American and the Sun Belt, I think, would be kind of next for that. So if we do that, if we get into a European soccer tier list, those would probably be the two that would be put together to start. You obviously got to factor in, I guess, the new Pac-12 that's going to begin next year too into this. But, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but it will not be the first domino to fall when it becomes merging conferences.
All right, we got to get a break in, but final comment I want to address. Somebody asked about Liberty. Liberty is just a unique deal, man, obviously, with the institution being what it is, having a huge endowment, being able to invest a ton of money. They have great facilities, but I don't know. I mean, I think there's a reason Liberty right now is in Conference USA and not in the American. Like, they have all the resources to fit in the American, but it's just a unique conversation. So I would venture to lean more towards JMU right now over Liberty, but I can understand the Liberty argument because they also invest heavily in athletics and have a bunch of good programs. So, but maybe that's a conversation for another day. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We will talk to Kevin Monroe. We'll get his take on the Pirates' upcoming game against Memphis, talk about his son's scholarship offer as well. That and more on the way. Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Every ECU fan's one stop for all things ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday, 3 days out from ECU Memphis. Big game on tap inside Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. Let's visit with our weekly ECU Sports Network guest. He is Kevin Monroe. You can hear him on the call this Saturday on 94.3 The Game, as well as 107.9. And Kevin, we'll talk some ECU football in a minute, but big news about your family. Derek Monroe, your youngest son from Green Level, freshman in high school, 2029 class, visits ECU for the Charlotte game and gets an offer, his first. So pretty special moment for your family. Just kind of walk us through that and what that meant to you.
Yeah, this is a new experience, Igo. This is, you've been along the ride for the Marcus experience. And Marcus, for those who don't know, he grew 10 inches in high school. I mean, it was pretty phenomenal. He started high school as a freshman at 5'6", 140. I mean, compare that to Butter being 6'1", 175. Marcus was 5'6", 140. And so we knew he was a good athlete, but we had no idea when he would grow, how much he would grow, what position he would end up playing. And so he was barely playing JV in the ninth grade. I mean, he was playing and played or whatever, but he was nowhere near playing varsity. And so to have this experience with Butter, obviously with the help of his brother and coming along and his process as being an athlete, he's just miles ahead in terms of timeline of where Marcus was. And so we thought that maybe this summer, going to some camps, that he'd have an opportunity to get some offers. I had no idea that this fall he'd get his first one, and it's been pretty exciting. Coach Harrell is very excited about him. Coach Roberts is very excited about him, and so he was pumped. I mean, as a ninth grader would be, he was smiling ear to ear. So we're excited for him.
Obviously, super early, long way to go in his recruitment. A lot of more offers on the way. But, we've talked about Marcus, ECU not taking a tight end in this class. So, I mean, it had to be pretty special to get it from your alma mater for Derek. I mean, just the first one, I don't know, does that it's got to make you feel pretty good as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was disappointing to not get the offer from Marcus, but the one thing I can say about East Carolina is they were upfront about it the whole way. They said, listen, we like him a lot. We'd love to offer him. We just don't have a scholarship for him. We gave 3 tight end scholarships away last in 2025, and so we just don't have a spot. And listen, I do all the games, so I watched Desario Rouse play. I watched Connor play. They are 2 very, very good tight ends, and so it's not like they're sending me a load of bull. I mean, they've got their tight end room full right now, and they've got another kid that's not playing right now. That's another good player. So I get it. It happens, and so it's just not meant for Marcus. And we'll see. We'll see where it goes with Butter. He's got a ton of coaches now following him on Twitter after this offer, and so as you said, his process is going to be a long one, and we'll figure it out as it goes. But certainly, nothing like your first one.
No doubt. Kevin Monroe with us on the field. Kevin, Pirates take care of Charlotte 48-22. Before we dive into some of the specifics, just what really stood out to you on Saturday on the field?
Well, I mean, gosh, you go up 28-0. That stood out. I mean, the Pirates, they haven't always been an early, fast-starting team. They've done it a few times this year. They did it against Campbell. They did it against Army. I think maybe Temple. But they haven't always been like that. Sometimes they kind of lull in the first half and they come back strong in the second half. They're outscoring teams in the second half by a lot, almost double. And so this has been more of a second-half team. But, man, they came out, guns blazing on Saturday. First day game in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, had a great crowd, good energy, and they just started making plays. And, I say the pivotal point in the game, to me, in my opinion, they go up 14-0, and then Anthony Smith, goes down the seam for a deep ball touchdown, takes his eye off of it at the last second. I'm always harping to my sons, you catch the football with your eyes, not with your hands, and you can see him kind of turn his head as the ball's coming into his hands, and he gets dropped. The very next play, the fourth down, they go for it, they don't get it. And now they're up 14-0, but they give away the ball at midfield. And that the momentum of the game could have easily changed right then. And sure enough, Tymeer Brown picks off the next pass, goes to the house to go up 21-0, and I don't think they ever really looked back. I mean, Charlotte obviously gained some ground and had some opportunities in the game, but they were never really stressed after that. And I think those knockout punches early on really made the difference.
Visit with Kevin Monroe, who used to play corner himself with the Pirates. And Kevin, you mentioned the Tymeer pick. Really, that was maybe the first real game-changing play we've seen a corner make this year for the Pirates. So, really, what have you seen out of Tymeer specifically? Because he was a guy who kind of got lost in the shuffle this offseason. We talked a lot more about the incoming transfers, and he's just kind of steadily been solid, productive, and then makes a play this past Saturday.
Yeah, you know what? It's been, as a former corner, I've been hard on these guys because as a group, consistently they've not been good. Rashard Reason he was pretty consistent. He gets the injury. Lowry's kind of been up and down. Chase Gray's kind of been up and down. Tymeer's had some good games, had some okay games. And so it's been tough to find guys. I know there's a couple of guys I'm not naming, but a couple of, tough to find a solid 2 or 3, including the nickel, to perform at a high level game in and game out. And when you have 2 good safeties like you do in Ridley and Wilk, you want to complement those guys with good corners, and we just haven't had that good cornerback play. So they have been steadily getting better, and you kind of have to when your best player gets hurt. So I think that's good. But even in the Charlotte game, the big plays that Charlotte was able to make were deep pass plays on defensive backs, and so that's the one thing that it's going to be tough for the Pirates to go far if they're not better at taking away the deep ball from teams. And so I was excited to see Tamir Brown make that play. The one thing about a pick six or making a big play, it gives you confidence. It allows you to think, okay, they come my way, I can make a play. And it also, it also sits in the back of the mind of the quarterback. Now, next time he's looking to throw that out route or something to your side, he's thinking, okay, I got to make a perfect throw, or I got to get it out quick so this guy doesn't get there. He's already shown what he can do. So it plays in the mind of the quarterbacks as well. So it gives him confidence, makes the quarterback nervous. So I love that about it. But yeah, as a group, they've got to continue to get better.
It'll be Memphis-ECU this Saturday, 4 o'clock inside Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. Pirates still alive for a conference championship in the race there. 5 one-loss teams in the league now with 3 regular season weeks remaining. And we've kind of looked ahead to this, Kevin, as media members. We can do that more so than the players. But, ECU had to take care of business. They did that. They won against Tulsa. They won, obviously, at Temple, and they took care of business against Charlotte. So sets up a big one this Saturday. Just your thoughts on kind of for the first time in a while, a big game in Dowdy-Ficklin in the midst of November.
Yeah, and the Pirates, last I looked, were small favorites in this game, and largely in part to the home field advantage, but also in the way they've been playing lately, and the fact that Memphis has got some issues with injury. Right, we don't know about Brendan Lewis in the quarterback position. They've kind of kept that under wraps. Don't know what's going to happen there, but he is their top guy at both passing and rushing, and that's the complete opposite from the game we just played, right? Because Charlotte and Loftus was no threat to run at all. Matter of fact, we encouraged him to run because he just wasn't a guy that had very good feet and wasn't very fast. But Brendan Lewis is different. He's the leading rusher on this team, averaging 5 yards a carry, and has the most yards rushing on the season. And so he's a guy that you have to worry about every time he's back there, whether it's a design run or whether he's drop back pass and scrambles and takes off. And so that changes defensive preparation completely. So we'll have to see what his situation is. And he's been banged up for a few games. So even if he plays, he still has nagging injuries that, have risen their head in the last couple of games. So I think that's going to play a big part in it. But yeah, I think the Pirates just have to come in and be ready to play their own game. And the catalyst over these last, 3 or 4 wins has been the resurgence of the run game, right? We saw it, it's kind of second half of the Tulane game, when TJ Engelman came in and showed those guys what it looks like to run hard, hit the right holes, make the right cuts, and then all of a sudden London Montgomery started playing really well. And so, I think this run game is going to be the catalyst to take us through to the postseason. And if we can run the football against Memphis is, they're giving up less than 4 yards a carry to opponents running the football, and the Pirates just got to where they're averaging over 4 yards a carry. So that's going to be a bit of a push right there. So we've got to be able to run the football to open it up for the passing game and Caden Hauser downfield. He's been so good in the midst of this last 3 or 4 weeks when the run game's been working. And then conversely, defensively, as I said, we've got to find a way to stop this high-powered offense that's scoring 37, 38 points a game, and they can score from every level. And so, giving up the big play like we did against Charlotte will kill us in a game like this.
I watched, Kevin, the Memphis-Tulane game, but it was a late one Friday night. But, Brendan Lewis, he impressed me because you could tell he couldn't really, cut or change direction, but once he got going, he could run and he could throw the ball. He went 29 of 34 in that game for 317, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But I noticed, he could not really plant and change direction if he got any pressure. So I'm wondering, as a defensive player, if you're going into a game, most likely, he could play, he could be a little better, but he's not going to be, like you mentioned, 100%. How does that maybe change your approach if this guy really can't, if you get some pressure on him, he can't really do a whole lot as far as escaping it in this particular matchup?
Well, I think it turns up the intensity from the defensive standpoint, especially Coach Aldridge, because you're run blitzing, you're pass blitzing, but you're putting pressure on this kid on every play, making him move in the pocket, making him cut. You're trying to hit him, not trying to hurt him, but you're trying to hit him. You want to make sure that he's feeling that injury from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. And by the end of the game, you want him limping because he's been hit so many times and that nagging injury. And so, yeah, I think it changes maybe the way that you approach things in terms of how intense you are. But also it helps the back end if you're getting to the quarterback quick and making him get rid of the ball quick, making him hit some hot reads instead of having patting the football and just throwing it deep downfield. So I would expect to see them down at the pressure, and they've been doing that here lately anyway. We've seen some corner blitzes, we've seen some safety blitzes, definitely from the linebackers. So Lampley and Zion Wilson, those guys have been playing so good up front, getting pushed on their own. That when you send a blitz, it's just almost too much for these quarterbacks, and they've been swallowing them up. So that's what I think that would change based on the quarterback having a little bit of a hobbled leg.
It'll be senior day, an early senior day. I looked it up, Kevin. This is the earliest on the calendar senior day since 2006 for ECU football. Obviously, 2 road games to follow, but still a lot to play for these seniors. Sam Danka, J.D. Lampley amongst that group. Also got some newcomers like Mike Wright, Tegan Wilk in there, Raheem Craig, Anthony Smith, Damian Wilson, Marlon Gunn. So pretty substantial senior day list. Zion Wilson as well and others. But what do you remember about your senior day at ECU, the emotions? How do you try to bottle that the right way when you approach the field like that?
Yeah, I was lucky because, mine, at the time, it was the biggest crowd in ECU history. We had over 50,000 people. We brought in end zone seats in both end zones. We were playing NC State. So, sellout crowd. Everybody wants to beat State. Playing against a tough, Jamie Barnett orchestrated offense at quarterback. They were a good team, but we were also really good. And we were trying to get our 9th regular season win, and they hadn't had 9 regular season wins outside of the Peach Bowl in a long time. And so that was important to us. It was also the game that was going to make Coach Logan the winningest coach in ECU history if we got that win. So there was so much riding on it. It was super exciting. And I just remember us playing really, really well. Defensively, I think we only gave up 6 points that game. And offensively, behind the running of Jamie Wilson and Dave Garrard at quarterback, I think we ended up scoring 27-28. I don't know, something like that. It's 28-6, something like that. But it was a decisive win, and we were thrilled and excited. And to be my last time playing in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, it's a great memory for me.
Final thing for you, Kevin. What are your real keys to victory? How does ECU pull off another win, stay alive another week in this conference race?
Yeah, I alluded to it a little bit. I think they've got to get out and run the football. If they can establish a run against Memphis, they've been so good when they've been running the ball. So, those 3 backs, Engelman, Gunn, and Montgomery, what they've been doing over the last 3 or 4 weeks has been, nothing short of miraculous. And especially with Gunn being senior day, he's going to be running hard. Get that run game going. It's going to open up everything in the passing game. Flip that on the opposite side. If it's Brendan Lewis, they've got 2 other running backs, both averaging at 5 or 6 yards a carry. And Smith is one of them. And so, yeah, they run the ball well. So we've got to be able to stop that run. And we've been pretty good stopping the run most of the year. Getting off the field on 3rd down, we're one of the better teams in the country at 3rd down efficiency, getting off the field defensively. And then turnovers. I mean, in a game like this, you just can't afford to throw picks and have fumbles. We've been pretty good, having 1 or so these last couple games, but you got to take care of the football. The team that takes care of the football the most will definitely win a close game like this.
He is Kevin Monroe. Check him out on the ECU Sports Network this Saturday, 4 o'clock kickoff in Dowdy-Ficklen. Kevin, we'll see you there. Appreciate the time as always, man.
And listen, this will also be my last home game, right?
That's right.
23 seasons on the air, and this will be my last home game. I'm probably going to do the bowl game, depending on where it is, but this could be my last game on air. So I'm thrilled about that. I'm excited. I say thrilled. I'm thrilled that I get to do another one, but definitely disappointed that it's going to be my last one. But excited about the future. So we'll see how it goes.
No doubt. Looking forward to Barkis's journey. Obviously, you'll be following along in person on the way. But, hopefully they send you out a winner as well, man. So we'll see you. We'll see you there Saturday. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. I go.
That is Kevin Monroe, ECU Sports Network analyst. As he said, his final home game in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium on the call as a color analyst on the network. So hopefully the Pirates win for that as well as for the seniors and to stay alive in the conference championship race. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll continue on. This is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Hoist the sail!
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Ahoy, me hearties!
Back to Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Third segment here on Hoist the Colors. We've talked a lot of football to this point. The comment section is open. If you got any more questions, comments, concerns, drop it there. We'll do our best to get to it. Tomorrow, we're scheduled to catch up with Macy O'Donnell, our usual weekly guest, and also Shane Carden, freshly minted Hall of Famer, will join us as well. So it should be a fun show tomorrow to recap his week in Greenville. Got to lead the Pirate Walk, so looking forward to discussing that with Shane. Bob Gagnon wants to know any idea on the possible attendance for Saturday. Glad to see the $12 and $25 ticket special. Yes, so shout out to the administration for, again, doing discounted tickets, $12 for the upper deck, $25 for the lower bowl non-chairbacks. Have not heard an updated number. I would think high 30s into the low 40s, similar to the Charlotte game, but they're trying to push as many tickets as possible because when you start with a lower season ticket base around that 15,000 mark, you have to move a lot of tickets to get that number into the 40,000s. Obviously, student turnout will be critical as well to bump that number up, but hoping for another good crowd and, again, a vocal crowd. So I'll try to do some research, Bob, reach out to some sources to try and get a better idea of where that stands going into what is a critical Thursday night or a Saturday evening game between the Pirates and Memphis. Hope to have an answer for that on Thursday. All right, we talked some hoops on Tuesday at the very end of the show. Wanted to dive a little bit further into that just to kind of assess the early start for the Pirates under head coach Mike Schwartz, fourth year. You look at some of the latest metrics. ECU, according to KenPom, down to 165 after the 1-1 start. A 225 offensive rating, 135 defensive rating, but if you look a little deeper, per strength of schedule, ECU's defensive rating more so based on his opponents, down to 277. So ECU allowing a lot of points. Richmond did score, I think, 90 again against William & Mary. William & Mary, though, a fast-paced team, too. So maybe Richmond's pretty good, but Pirates either way. Disappointing game, 87-72, and they return home. I said earlier, like this game Thursday, the main thing I want to do is see some guys grow confidence-wise. But, like, you're not going to learn anything playing Elizabeth City State. It's a non-Division I team, and I know the staff and the players can't take that mindset, but just from a realistic standpoint, like regardless of what happens that game, I'm more interested in what's to follow. UNCW, even Charleston Southern's more of a test, and then you got Michigan State, St. Bonaventure. So we'll see what they look like on Thursday. But the main concerns right now are, for me, the shooting. We touched on it. You're 8 of 40 from three-point range, 2 games in. So that's 20%. Your opponents are shooting 34% from three. You know, if there's a thing I like is I think you've got 2 proven guys right now in Jordan Riley and Giovanni Imajuru. The problem is, of course, neither of those guys are shooters. The big question for me, and I mentioned this during the summer, like this team needs Corey Calker to be good at point guard. He's got to be able to shoot the ball. He's got to be able to not turn it over. 6 turnovers through 2 games against 9 assists. His first 2 games of Division I basketball, I'm going to give him time. But I don't know if Philip Pilkin and producing today. Like, when is an appropriate time to make a fair judgment? Because we are so early, and I don't want to overreact too much. But I mentioned it on Tuesday. I'm a little concerned with the shooting, and they really need some of these guys to pick it up quickly, especially with the injuries already hitting them as well.
Yeah.
And the schedule.
Yeah. For the shooting, I think it's fair to judge it by the end of next week. I mean, at that point, you have played 5 games. You have played 2 true road games, 3 home games. As for Corey Calker specifically, I was talking to Patrick about this the other day, and, he spends a lot of time with Cy Seymour, and, Cy coached a lot of guys who came up from the JUCO ranks, and he always said that something would click about mid-January. And I know that's later than what people want to hear, but at the end of the day, the goal is to win a conference. Look, they're probably not going to the NCAA tournament out large, but they're probably going to win the conference anyways. So he said that you'd come back from Christmas break, you play 2 or 3 games, and then boom, the pace of play would finally slow down for these young men who are stepping up from the JUCO ranks. So for Calker, I say 3rd or 4th conference game, which I know is a long way out, but I'm just going off people that know more about basketball than me.
So with the schedule ahead, that means you're likely going to struggle a lot. So my answer to that would be, do you play Isaiah Mbang more at the point to kind of take some pressure off, or is your kind of argument to that where he's got to experience live fire to really grow? So I think you at least got to be respectable in non-conference, or people just aren't going to be engaged come conference play. Maybe you play them together more, which Schwartz has done. He's had to do because Jay Shane Woodard and LeBeau are out right now with injuries. So, but maybe let Mbang handle the ball a little more because he's a point guard from William & Mary, second-year player, has a little bit more experience. But the problem is they're just not very deep right now in the backcourt. With Woodard out, Tybo Bailey's been okay. But outside of that, you basically have freshmen or walk-ons.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the answer is kind of all of the above, Stephen. You do have to get him to be a Division I point guard. And the only way you can be a Division I point guard is to be on the court as a Division I point guard. Now, the other thing about it, too, is you also do have to get him to become a Division I basketball player. It is harder to adapt to becoming the point guard, being the quarterback, having to do everything that goes into playing point guard than it is to play any other position when you talk about speed of the game. So I think it is important for him to continue to get point guard reps. However, I think it is not unimportant or should be tossed aside that you can play him off the ball just so there are basic things that he can do to adapt to the speed of Division I basketball game, and especially when you're the 2 guard. I mean, just think about how many times as a 2 guard you still throw a swing pass. You throw an inlet pass because they kicked you on the wing, and then you've got to work the ball inside. And, you're still going to play a fast pace of game out on the perimeter. It's not like we're talking about moving him to a forward here and not saying the game isn't at a different pace down low than it is out on the wings, but it's quicker. That's where really the pace is different, is on the wings, is at the point guard position. So I think he can still learn a lot from playing off ball, but I don't want to neglect him playing the point guard position either.
And with his size, if you move him off ball, you lose some value too, because he's not going to be a great defender with his size against other guards on the floor. So that's another thing. At least guards that are bigger, more physical than your traditional point guard. Johnny says 24% of the Pirates' 2-point field goals have been dunks. 11 of 46. So Johnny Stats coming through with that. He also says Jay Shane Woodard averaged 137.1 points per 40 minutes against Richmond. He came in, made a shot, clearly couldn't go, and sat back down. So, look, I do think I'm not going to give ECU a pass for the injury thing, but, there's no doubt. You have two seniors in Travion LeBeau and Jay Shane Woodard that you were counting on to play big minutes. Now, LeBeau is more of a defensive-first role player, but he was probably one of your better man defenders. And Jay Shane, we know his versatility. Hopefully he's back sooner than later, but how much are you willing to factor that into if we continue to see some rough basketball early? It's a factor, but also for me it goes back to I just feel like they should have filled out the roster with some older players. I just feel like the back of the roster does not leave you much margin for error, and unfortunately we're seeing that already kind of exposed due to the injuries.
Stephen, I understand where you're coming from, but I do want to reiterate this is not the only team in the country that looks like this. I was watching Duke last night. They have 9 scholarship guys. Now, some of these guys who might be on scholarship who are walk-ons, but they're not getting in the game until the last under 4 media timeout. So the point is, if Duke has a guy get injured, they're on an 8-man rotation right now. So I think
where's the rest of them?
They only got 9 guys.
So they have paying 9 guys.
They got 10, but one of them they just announced as redshirting.
Okay.
But my point in saying this is, it is so hard now to fill out your roster in college basketball. It's frustrating, and I understand what you're coming from, and I understand why people are ticked off. But we're not the only team in the country who's facing this. And again, one of the teams that's also facing this is the top 5 team in the country. So it's not like, it's just happening in the mid-major level. This is just happening in teams who are historically bad basketball programs. No. This is an issue with college athletics, and it's unfortunate. I know it sucks, and there's things we have to talk about. I'm not trying to disregard the conversation here by saying this, but my point is when we look and go, damn, they should fill the roster out better. Yeah, well, so should everybody else. It's just there's too many moving parts right now, and it's hard. It's harder in basketball, I think, than anything because there is so few guys on the team.
Hunter says we won't see much good basketball nationwide until January to February. I mean, that also rings true with the portal. You're trying to figure out what your team can do, man. It's a crapshoot. But I just think the frustrating thing for ECU is every year it's you play these bad teams at home, you beat them. It feels like every time they go to a Richmond or a George Mason early in the season, they just get smashed.
We can never win that road A-10 game.
Yeah, can we get out of this cycle? Just go, not even win, just be competitive. I don't know. And two, the other thing I know is this team has more investment in it than any ECU team in history. So I think we kind of have to find that balance of, all right, what are fair expectations? Again, I'm going to give them time. It's 2 games. But also, you got a pretty sizable backing here from your donors. I know they want to see results too. So, but it's 2 games. I'm just seeing some concerns early, exasperated by the Woodard injury because I really think Jay Shane had a chance to take a massive leap this year, and he still can. I don't know what his long-term status is, but I just want to see more. And unfortunately, we're not going to really know anything until the UNCW game.
Yeah, well, I just sounds crazy. I don't know what the extent of Jay's injury is. I wouldn't want him to play honestly till after Thanksgiving. You're probably not going to win either one of those games regardless. So save him till after Thanksgiving. Let him heal up. And come back home for whatever that first home game is after, and let's get after it.
Especially, if he's still fighting it, obviously he can't play Thursday, Elizabeth City State. And then UNCW, we'll see, Charleston Southern. Then you go to Fort Myers for Michigan State, St. Bonaventure. UMass is the first game, Tuesday, December 2nd after Thanksgiving. So, again, we don't get a ton of injury information, but there's kind of some speculation on what might happen depending upon how Jay Shane reacts in the coming days with his leg injury. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We will wrap up the show after this.
Hurry to Greenville Toyota for model year-end savings on a Camry. Just $229 a month. $229 a month. Or new RAV4, $279 a month. $279 a month. Only during our model year-end move-out. Right now at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
It's Greenville Toyota's model year-end move-out. Save on a new Corolla, just $149 a month. $149 a month. Or new Tacoma, $249 a month. $249 a month. Now get a move on and save at Greenville Toyota.
Like all pirates, Stephen Igo is loyal and bold. He may also have a touch of scurvy. Back to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Final few minutes here on this Wednesday. The latest college football playoff rankings dropped last night. We finally have an American team in the top 25. I guess they're all American teams, but American Conference team. The South Florida Bulls come in at 24. They're the only team outside the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12. That's my way of not saying the group of five. Still want the scenario to happen where Duke wins the ACC and USF or an American team and James Madison are ranked higher and the ACC doesn't get a team in the playoff, but I don't know how realistic that is. Either way, your latest projection would be South Florida, the 12th seed, going to Georgia as the 5 seed. Notre Dame as the 9, going to Oregon as the 8. Miami is projected as the 11 because they're the highest-ranked ACC team, but right now they're kind of on the outside looking in, so they just project the highest-ranked ACC team, so it could be any which team. But for now, it's Miami at Texas Tech, 11-6. Texas as the 10, and Ole Miss as the 7. And then Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama getting first-round byes, ranked from 1 to 4 in that order. Anything stand out to you, Philip, on these initial, or I should say second version of the CFP rankings?
Not too much. I thought maybe Louisville and Virginia would fall a little farther. I think both of them stayed in the teens. I want to say maybe they're 18 and 19. I thought maybe we'd see one of those get to kind of fall into the low 20s. Was the only thing. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Where did BYU end up?
So BYU is at 12.
That's a little weird to me. You're undefeated. You're number 6 or whatever they were, 7. You lose on the road to a Texas Tech team that I personally think they're 6, I believe, and they're probably the 6th best team in the country right now, if not the 5th. I think the top 4 are the top 4, and then you can make an argument for a handful of teams, and they're in that. So that's their only loss. In Texas Tech, if their quarterback plays at Arizona State, they're undefeated right now. So I don't understand why BYU is on the outside looking into this thing. And I know part of it is you got 2 teams stealing bids, theoretically, because they're not ranked in the top 12. But I don't know, man. It's just I don't think BYU should be punished for that game. Texas Tech's a good football team.
BYU finishes TCU at home at Cincinnati, which is ranked 25th, and then UCF at home. So Cincinnati game will be tricky, but they have a chance to rematch with them potentially in the Big 12 title game in a number of weeks. All right, we're out of time. And John Moody says, crazy to think Saturday is the last home game of 2025. Where has the season gone? We say it every year, man. Once you get to kickoff, it flies by, and this year is no different.
John Moody, we have December the 5th.
That's right. ECU can still host the conference title game, which that would be a Friday night?
Yep.
A 9 p.m. kickoff, I think. So
something like that.
That would be insane if it happens. A lot to get done between now and then, and Pirates need some help. But it starts Saturday. But we can't even get to that point yet. We got to start tomorrow. 1-0 each day, gentlemen and ladies, if you're listening. 1-0 each day. We went 1-0 today. We got to go 1-0 tomorrow when we're joined by Macy O'Donnell and Shane Carden. And we got to go 1-0 in the chat. So we'll see you tomorrow, 12 noon on Thursday on Hoist the Colors. Thanks for listening.